Hey, it's Evie, welcome to my channel. Today's video is, are you affecting somebody else's free will when you decide that somebody is going to behave a certain way towards you, when you decide to bring a specific person into your reality? Are you affecting their free will, and is it wrong to do so? I get asked this quite a lot. So what is the answer to that? Are you affecting somebody's free will? Somebody that otherwise wouldn't come into your life, wouldn't text you, wouldn't call you. Are you messing with their minds, bringing them into your reality? Is this something that you're doing wrong? And a lot of people will say you shouldn't do this. But the thing is, we've done this all throughout our lives and we've thought nothing of it because it's just what we do. As human beings, it's just what we do. We imagine things, we have conversations in our heads with people only before we didn't know we were doing it. And then these people would come into our lives, things would happen according to the conversations that we'd had in our head with these people, and we think nothing, but we think it was a weird coincidence. But we wouldn't be doing anything wrong, would we? So no, I don't believe that you are doing anything wrong, because as I've said before, I believe that we will have our own reality, and don't ask me how that works because I have no idea. But to me, it's the only way that this works, because if I want something, I'm going to get it. If I desire it and I put in the intention and I get the momentum going and I let go, I'm going to get that thing. I've proved that to myself over the last few years. I'm going to get that thing. What if there is just one thing, one person say, and you want, and somebody else wants, you're the third party. Why would you get and they wouldn't get? Well, you just would, because this is your reality. So in your reality, you get. In their reality, they get. I have done a video about this before, but it's so old and it doesn't really get that many views, and I think it's quite an important point to make here, that this is what I believe. I don't know this for fact, of course I don't, but that's what I see going on here. A lot of the reason that I feel this way is because a lot of stuff has happened, little things in life. I'll just give you a really stupid example. So when I had a big office with more staff, I was messing around one afternoon because I was very immature in the office, and I was telling a younger employee about, probably won't remember this, especially if you're not from the UK and around my age, there was an advert in the 80s called Chicken Tonight, and it was, I feel like chicken tonight, and then they would do these actions and everything. And it was a bit naff and cheesy and everything, but it was okay for the 80s, and I was explaining it to, I don't know why we got into this conversation, to my apprentice at the time. And anyway, he thought I was crazy. And when I got home that evening, my husband always watches quiz shows in the evening. So he put The Chase on, as he usually does. And the first question on there was all about the advert. What was the advert in the 80s? What was it advertising? And they said the slogan, and it was the Chicken Tonight advert. And even my husband was like, that is freaking weird, because it was weird. Now this was affecting my reality. So if everything going on is affecting everybody's reality, then there wouldn't be enough time in the day, would there? I know time's a weird thing as well. So when that happened, I thought, I really do think this is just my reality. And I know it's quite a bizarre concept, but the whole thing's a bizarre concept, isn't it? And I like to work with that, because otherwise I would get stuck in the, well, why would I get and this person wouldn't get? I would get stuck in that, and I don't get stuck in that, and I always get. So I can only go by my own experience. So are you affecting somebody's free will? No, I don't believe that you are, because you are just creating your own reality in whichever way you want to see it. You want to experience it. I don't know. And people will say, oh, well, that means that everybody else is just a puppet in your reality. I don't really believe that either, but I don't know what I believe. I'm just telling you, this is what works for me. It really does work for me, that if we all have our own reality, then we all get. So we're splitting off all of the time into different realities. So and this goes along with the theory of quantum physics as well, and consciousness and energy and all of that. So if I want something, I'm always going to get it, providing I've given it energy, momentum, I've intended it that way, given it energy and momentum, let it go, I'm going to get it. I always have. Every time, when I started really getting into this, taking it lightheartedly, having fun with it, with Harry, both of us mucking about with it, all kinds of things started coming into my life that usually, I wouldn't expect to come into my life. And I got every single time. There's nothing that I've wanted that I haven't got. There really isn't. I mean, there's a couple of things at the moment in the pipeline, but I'm assuming that they are going to go the way that I want them to go, but I'm not sort of holding on too tightly, because that's the key here, is not holding on too tightly, but I'm assuming that those things will come into my reality. I don't, sometimes I might doubt, and that's fine. Doubt will not affect your manifestation, but this is my reality. It is a funny one to get your head around, but quantum physics is a strange thing to get your head around. Scientists can't get their head around it, not really. They get what's going on, but they don't know why. They can't explain it, and I can't either. Of course I can't. What am I, Of course I can't explain it, but this is a theory that I like to work with. So you're not affecting somebody's free will because you're not affecting this person now. So your specific person that you want your ex back or whatever, you're not affecting that person because you are moving. I know this sounds mental, and when I say it, I know how mental it sounds, but I feel that you're moving into another reality where that person does feel that way. So it's a different person in essence. It's the same person, but it's a different version of that person, a slightly different version. So you're not affecting this version now. You're just moving and you're experiencing the version that you want to experience, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I debated whether to do this video because I know there's nothing I can prove and nothing I can say it's exactly this, but I just wanted to because I find this fascinating and fun to talk about, and I could talk about it for hours, but that's how I see it. So you are not affecting somebody's free will because we do this all of the time, and it's how we're made and it's what we're supposed to do. So we're not doing anything wrong, are we? And like I say, I do not feel that I'm affecting anyone, that I'm going in there messing with somebody's mind and changing the mind of this particular person or this particular version. I am just deciding that I want to experience another version of a person. When I want to change somebody's behaviour, which I've done on numerous occasions, and sometimes in a couple of days, I want to experience that. Equally, if you have a negative conversation in your head with somebody, then you are telling reality that that's what you want to experience. I know I give you loads of examples here, but I think it really helps to have an example. When I was working for a publishing company way back, I liked my boss when I first started. I did like her. We got on really well. I liked her a lot. But I wanted to move on from that department, and it was nothing personal to her or anybody else in the department. I just wanted to move on. I felt ready to go and do something else, and I knew which department I wanted to go to, and I knew that I could get that job because I knew the guy that ran that department, and I knew he'd be happy to give me the job. And anyway, so I decided I was going to go for it, and it was in a completely different building, and it was actually running the whole building basically, and it was huge compared to what I had been doing, admittedly, which was on the reception. But I knew I could do it. I knew it would take a while to get used to, but I liked all the people in that building. Anyway, so I decided I was going to go for it. I approached the guy that was the boss of that department. He was also the boss of me, but he was also the boss of lots of different departments. And he said, yeah, come for an interview, which is what I did. And my boss at the time, a woman boss, who I did get on really well with, started digging and making digs and saying things about me to other people, kind of putting me down. And I think it was because she didn't want me to go, because we did get on really well. I can only put it down to that. And I heard about it, somebody told me, and then I overheard her saying something, and I was not a happy chappy. And I went back to the room that I was working in with the other people, and the windows were wide open, and it was a really hot day, and I was really not being overly complimentary about her, put it that way. And then she walked past the window, and she'd been stood outside having a cigarette, so she'd heard everything. Nothing was said. It was so awkward. And I went home, and I was having this conversation in my head about all of the things I'd like to say to her, because I was really upset with her. But I didn't really intend to say any of these things to her. I thought, really, I was thinking, no, best not to say anything. And then as I was having this conversation in my head, I was feeling like, I didn't think I was going to say any of these things to her, but I had that conversation in my head, and it made me feel better because I said all the things I would like to say, but only in my head. Well, that conversation happened exactly as a situation occurred a couple of days later, and I heard her say something else, and I just looked at her, and we looked at each other, and she went, oh, do you want to talk? And I said, yeah. And then I went into the back room with her, and I said, and the conversation went exactly the way that I'd imagined. She said the things that I'd imagined, and I said the things I'd imagined. And I was thinking, God, and this was way before I was into this. And I thought, wow, that's unfolded exactly as, that's weird. So, and it was undesirable. It was really awkward, and I hated it. It was really, really awkward. And we were never the same after that, really. I mean, we still spoke and got on and everything, and I moved to the different department. I got that job and moved, and it was fine. But she'd come over for various reasons, and we were polite to each other and nice to each other, but it was awkward, really was awkward. So there you go. Don't have conversations in your head that you get a bit of a thrill about if you don't want them in real life, because if that conversation in your head has momentum, that's what will happen. But I don't believe that I put that into her head, all of that conversation into her head. I believe that I selected unknowingly, unwittingly, that reality where that happened to me, where I experienced that. So it's not really anything to do with the other person. It's all about what you want to experience. And I didn't want to experience it, but reality assumes that I wanted to experience it because I'd put that momentum and that energy behind it. It's exactly what I experienced. So again, I am not saying definitively, because what do I know? I don't know. I'm just saying that this is what works for me. And if you are concerned that you are messing with a person's, if you've imagined conversations that you've had with your specific person, and then you have that conversation and then you think, oh God, I've messed with their head there. I've planted that conversation in there. I don't really believe that that's what you're doing, because like I say, we do it naturally. And when we don't know about this stuff, we do it. And we've done it all of our lives, but we've thought nothing of it. So if we're designed to do that, how are we doing anything wrong? We aren't. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I really wouldn't worry about it. Just see this as your reality. You've chosen to experience that. It's not really that much to do with the other person. It's all to do with what you want to experience. And that's what you are experiencing, but you are experiencing it. You are shifting into another reality, pretty much identical to this one, but just where that person has slightly different feelings or whatever, and they're going to say what you imagined because that's how they are. That's how you've created them. But they will equally be creating versions of you, not the you that you are now, because this is your reality, but in their reality. Again, I know it's mental, but how else does this work? If you think the law of attraction, if you want to call it that, is a law, so like gravity, there is no changing it, it's what happens, and it is, isn't it? We know that. It is like gravity, it works every single time. So there is no choice between you and somebody else. You always get, so they will always get. So that is how this works for me, and that's how I run with it. I don't get it, and sometimes if I think about it for too long, I think, oh, that can't be right. But then what else is there? Just don't think about it too much. Find something that works for you, and if you can work with this, then all the better. I mean, some of you might not like this and might give it a thumbs down because just think, it doesn't make any sense, but none of it makes any sense, does it? It doesn't. And if you actually think about it, and the fact that this is a law, and we know it works every single time, we know it does because we've experienced it, then nothing else makes sense, does it? This is the only thing that actually makes sense. There you go. Think about that for a bit, see what you think when you let it sink in. Anyway, if you don't like that theory and you give it a thumbs down, fair enough. It's completely subjective, isn't it, this stuff? Anyway, if you want to ask me a question about my coaching, which is my members area will be live next week, definitely. I will be sending a newsletter out, but if you'd like to ask me any questions about that, you can go in and see what it's all about without signing up. So you don't have to sign up, just get the gist of what it's all about. There's a video explainer in there, there's paper explainer, document explainers, there's experiments in there. So what will happen is it will be updated every single week. So if you do subscribe, then there will always be something new. Every week there'll be new stuff, and you don't have to get through it all in a week. It's there for you. You can download it, you can do whatever you need to do, print it out, keep it, there's an Ask Evie section, so you can just talk to me throughout if you need help with any of the stuff in there. And so finally that's good to go, and that's amazing. But if you would just like to send me a general inquiry, then please do go to my website and do that. Select general inquiry from the drop down on the coaching page. My latest book, Get Back With Your Ex, is out now, and it's doing really well. And I would like, I've said before, thank you. I don't know where that other video has gone that I posted up yesterday. I really don't know. It's like disappeared off my list, but it's still coming up in the analytics, so I really don't know what's happened, and I haven't got the time to look into it. So I can see people are still looking at it, but I can't see it. Anyway, so as said before, thank you so much if you have bought that book, and if you've bought any of my books, I really do thank you for that. Brilliant. Thank you for your support.